correspondents' reports through expert opinion and stakeholders' analysis. We'll take a look at some of the trending stories in Nigeria today. Like this one talking of the president, where it has been stated that Tinubu approves 50,000 naira grant and 155 billion naira food for households. Okay, and then on the economy, federal government announces boost as excess crude accounts gets $473.75 million. And then on business, FCCPC engaged supermarket owners on price transparency. On cybersecurity, CBN to implement more policies to tackle challenges. And we'll take a look at inflation now. Healthy diet cost rises by 32%. This is a statement by MBS. And then on minimum wage, each state will negotiate what it can pay. This is a statement by the governors. And on agriculture, oil palm can generate 16 trillion naira. Can you believe that? And even more. This is a statement by ex-speaker Dogara. And then on hardship, where we have the former president of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan. He has made a remark or comment on this one, where he has made some recommendations on ways in which Nigeria can overcome this particular menace of hardship that has eaten so deep in our society and is actually on the lips of so many Nigerians. Let's take some time off. We'll introduce our guests after this break, and then we'll delve straight into the analysis of these stories. Please stay with us. To know you're still with us right here. Let's do this together. But first of all, let us introduce our guest, who's already seated with us in the studio. With us today is a development economist, and he is also a public affairs analyst, also loves to talk for development of the country, really interested in the happenings in Nigeria and also in recommending solutions to some of these menaces we have in our midst. I'm talking about no other than Dema Emmanuel George. Good morning, Dema.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday to you.
All right, I'd like to find out the origin of this particular greeting, Happy Sunday.
Well, we like adding happy to everything.
Well, have you noticed they don't say Happy Monday, Happy Tuesday? Why Happy Sunday?
Because on Mondays, that's the beginning of work, and so people don't like to work.
Okay, so what about Happy Friday?
Friday, you know, people go for weekends, weekend parties and clubbing and grooving and all that. So they always want to add happy to it. So we even have people, when they give birth to a child, who have happy, you know, they always have happy to something.
Okay, so that's where Happy Sunday came out. I said I was going to make that research, but Dema has helped me out.
Yes.
Thank you, Dema, for joining us today on Atn Sunday.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so let's look at this very first story now. This is one that will put smiles on a lot of people's faces, even though some people will still not believe. I don't know why. But this story has told us that President Bola Tinubu has approved the National Construction and Household Support Program during the National Economic Council meeting on Thursday in Abuja. And according to a statement that was issued by the presidential spokesman, Aduri Ngalale, the program is aimed at boosting agricultural productivity and strengthening the economy and providing immediate economic relief for Nigerian households. Now, he has also added that the program, which was supported by the NEC, includes financial allocations and infrastructure projects across all geopolitical zones in the country. Now, he has also added that a key component of the program is the approval of 50,000 naira uplift grant to be distributed to 100,000 families per state for 3 months. I really wish the criteria for choosing these families was actually stated. Well, he has revealed that another 155 billion naira was earmarked for the purchase and distribution of assorted foodstuffs across the nation to address the concerns about food security and affordability. I'd like to go back to the heading of this particular story now, because this is a very interesting one. A lot of people have been asking for immediate relief. The heading now, a lot of people have been asking for immediate relief concerning what's going on, the economic situation. In fact, I had a guest. I like to make reference to him because he made a very, should I say, he made a very rare statement that you will not hear so many people make. He said that the government should pay the citizens, in fact, the residents, right, of each state in Nigeria. He's looking at 500,000 naira or 1 million naira within 3 months, and that time when you pay, don't pay your workers. At least they are part of the citizens that you have given that relief on. These are just recommendations that are coming in concerning the economic or the hardship that's going on. So now for the president to actually approve the National Construction and Household Support Program, where this amount will be given to 100,000 households in the states in Nigeria. What do you think about this one? Is this enough relief right now? Is this something we should applaud?
At least on paper, it's a relief. The reality is implementation. I flash back memory lane. In 2007, I read about the Vision 2020. That was 13 years interval. We have good policies on paper. Our problem is implementation. Now, when you look at this, I've gone through what the government is planning to do in terms of infrastructure, support for households, 100,000 families across the country, paying them for 3 months. Every government in power have one particular social program or the other to empower vulnerable and poor families in the country. The problem we have is putting this thing, bringing it to reality, implementation. It's not enough to have a beautiful package. It's just like you cooked food and you have this delicious stew and all your neighbors are talking about it because they perceive the aroma and it's so nice. And they are like, wow, this is a wow food. But you can't taste it. You just perceive, but you can't taste. Nigerians have been perceiving the aroma of these policies, but they are not tasting it. What we need as a country is tasting it. The previous government floated the end power. And there's so much stories about misappropriation, corruption, embezzlement, diversion of funds, and a lot more.
We had a lot of people benefit from that scheme.
When you look at the percentage of those that benefited compared to the generality of the populace or the general population, you would discover that it is not really significant. The fact is, these policies are on paper, is implementing it. If you have good policies, the political will to implement it. But if you want to implement it, you have to have a structure in place to checkmate corruption. Because this is like a national cake for many. And money to be shared to household. How do you determine a poor household in Nigeria today? These are important questions that we need to ask ourselves. I studied about Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a country, they have a lot of economic challenges, but they have made progress over the years because they don't just float programs. They try to look at how they can tailor these programs towards reaching out to the people. So other countries in the world that have significantly reduced the percentage of poor people, that have taken a lot of the have-nots, now becoming the haves. Those that are economically deprived, taking them out of the state of poverty, hunger, starvation, uplifting their lives. Albert Einstein, the famous scientist, gave a definition of insanity. He defined insanity as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a new result. Now, what are the methods What are the approaches? What steps have we taken in the past towards social reducing poverty in the country that have not yielded results? We need to sit back and reflect over these previous attempts that have been made. We have the end power. In the past governments, they floated the end power. I expect the government to sit down and carry out an evaluation on areas the end power failed and how they can improve, learn some lessons, incorporate it to this policy that they're trying to bring out to reduce poverty. Now, just sharing money to households, it's not going to solve the poverty situation.
But this is one of the things
run.
that some Nigerians have asked for.
Yes.
Give relief funds, immediate relief funds. Aside any other thing you want to do, create jobs and all of those things that it seems like it's taking so much time and also seems like it doesn't get to everybody's hand. Why don't you just share this money? I'm quoting some certain people I've heard say this thing. Why don't you give relief funds that would help households at the moment to cushion the effect of this hike in prices of goods and services out there?
How much relief is the relief fund going to relieve them? That's the question. If you give someone 100,000 naira, can it even buy him a bag of rice and a bag of beans? How many days is that money going to feed him and his family? Can that take care of his medical bills? Can that take care of his transportation costs? Can that take care of his energy costs?
Does it mean that the government should not look into that?
I'm not saying the government shouldn't look into that.
What
I'm trying to say is that that process have been done in the past, and it has not been successful because it has been hijacked by corrupt people who have embezzled and diverted those funds meant for the people.
Which process have we had in Nigeria that we haven't heard stories of corruption coming in?
Yes, the corruption will continue. That's why I quoted Albert Einstein when he said, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a new result. I want to even make an addition to that definition. Doing the same wrong thing over and over again and expecting to get the right result will complicate the situation. And that's the complicated situation we are in right now. Of course, other countries in the world, they have social security programs. For example, the United States of America, that aids people, food packs, food aid, where people can go and get food, vulnerable people, to feed their families.
And you think that's a good idea, right?
It's not a bad idea. It's not also a bad idea what the government is trying to float. The problem with these projects of government is that they have not come up with a bold answer. If you say you want to give 50,000 or 100,000 to 100,000 households, how do you determine those households? Because I keep talking about the problem of database or data bank. How can you tell a poor person? Do we have this data? Do we have the statistics? We have the National Bureau of Statistics, we have the Central Bank of Nigeria, we have the National Identification Number. These are agencies of government, the National Population Commission, NPC, and other agencies of government. They all need to work together to see how they can have a comprehensive list. Because if you just walk on the street, you can't just see 5 persons walking, and you say these are poor people and poor households. What about those who don't even have a bank account, who are not financially integrated into the system? What about those who are financial illiterates? So how do you get the poor people? How do you get to the real,
like they like
yes.
To put it.
Some of them are in the villages, they don't have a bank account. So are you going to exclude them from this package? Are you going to look at the poor people in the city base? Or are you looking at rural poor or urban poor? Are you looking at those who are politically poor or those who are in your party that you want to compensate?
So if you're looking at this project as something that we might start hearing allegations of corruption coming out from, then how do you think the government should do it differently this time? You've made mention of various other projects, similar schemes that we have had that we actually heard the allegations of corruption. So what do you think the government should do differently this time?
If the government should start with from the top. Now, if a fish wants to get bad, start getting rotten from the head. That's a proverb. When I say from the top, it means they need to have an in-house cleaning. They need to show leadership. They need to show leadership that we walk the talk. They're not just having a wonderful document or policy, but they must show the political will to want to take people out of poverty and hunger. We are facing a hunger crisis in this country. People are hungry, very hungry, malnourished and poor in a country blessed with so much resources. So we are tired of hearing we are going to feed 100,000 people. You feed a man for today, will you feed him for tomorrow? So one step the government can take is create an enabling environment for small and medium enterprises, businesses. Create that environment. You can feed everybody. I've not seen a country, except you can quote me wrong, that the government feed everyone, even in socialist or communist countries. The responsibility of government is to create that environment for people to grow and thrive. Social programs like this are very important to alleviate the suffering of people in the form of subsidies. But then, the government needs to create an environment, reduce energy costs. Look at the prices of things in the markets. You can't take that off the prices of fuel, the cost of fuel. You want to buy a bag of rice from Sokoto and you want to transport it to Port Harcourt. By the time you look at the cost of transportation, the transportation cost is passed to the consumers, to those who will buy the product from you because you want to make a profit. You don't want to be in business for charity. So if the government creates an enabling environment, reduce the cost of energy, improve security, security for agriculture, for farmers to go to the farm and they are secured, there will be an increase in production, in supply. Help local farmers, train them on logistics, support them with essential materials and equipment that they need to farm. We cannot be talking about agriculture in the 21st century and we just talk about hoe, cutlass, and shovel. These are areas, security, and areas the government can work on, and create a database. I'm not convinced that they have done that. Create a database that you can sit in your house. We are blessed with a lot of intelligent people in this country. We can have a database. You can have it like a software. You can have it like an app in your phone, where you can sign in. You are eligible. You can check your eligibility for the government support, and because you are in the database, you are captured in the database. I don't like to call people poor, but that's what it is. As a poor Nigerian who want to get the support from government, you can easily. You don't need to go through a big man somewhere. Transparency. Put in transparency.
Okay, so that's it. Transparency needs to come in.
Transparency needs to come in.
Balances
yes.
need to be up there, and we need to make sure that corruption doesn't come in now, because it will be very pathetic if monies that are meant for people who probably are not able to even feed at the moment are then siphoned by people who have been feeding and have more than enough. It's going to be very, very pathetic. So as much as a lot of Nigerians will applaud this particular project by the president, which is what some people have been calling for, we really need to make sure that we don't have allegations coming up of corruption. Let us make sure that it is as transparent as possible, like Deima has mentioned. Because no matter how we say government should put up infrastructures, government should create jobs, government should reduce electricity hike, and all of those things we know will help businesses now. We also have been talking about immediate relief funds. So while the people are expecting the government to do more in terms of helping them financially, that's giving them jobs and all that, the government also needs to do this. And seeing that the president has started this one, we're going to find out how it plays out, because when they started his analysis, he said this is on paper. And this is a statement by a lot of Nigerians. When they see policies from the president or the government in general, they'll be like, this is paper, until we see it happening. I had a guest once who shared his story. There was a relief fund, something like that, for business owners and small business owners. And then, according to him, he is an influencer online. So he was telling his fans online, and nobody believed him. But he applied. A lot of people just thought it was paper. So until they paid him, when he came back and told his fans, look, I have been paid, that's when everyone was like, oh, can I start? How can I register? And all of that. So Nigerians don't really believe or even trust the statement of the government.
If I can add to that, that's a symptom or that's a product or a byproduct of a system that trust has failed. There is a disconnect between the leaders and the led, between the leaders and the followers. When you are in a system or in an organization where you have been lied to for a long time, right? Lies have been rubbed on you like a mud for a long time. So you have there layers of that lies have built up on your skin. You lose trust. It applies to a family, it applies to an organization, it applies to a community, it applies to relationship. If you have a child and you are the father of that child, and you keep telling the child, son, I'm going to buy you a football. Don't worry. And every time you tell the child you're going to buy him a football, you disappoint that child. Every disappointment distances, it causes a disconnect. The more disappointment, the more disconnection takes place.
But Dema, we cannot take away the fact that the government has definitely kept to a lot of their promises. We cannot completely and outrightly say that the government has not kept to any promise they have made to Nigeria.
I am not saying the government have not kept to any promises or most of their promises. I am saying that generally the system is lacking trust. The people do not have trust for their leaders because of long-term bad governance that have taken place over time and has mentally raped the people. Psychologically, they have been disconnected. There's no emotional connection between followers and leaders in our country. Yes, even as an individual, when you tell people you want to do this particular thing, they find it difficult to believe you. So the government have a lot of responsibility to build trust. People trust you by your actions, not much about your words, because politicians are good with words.
Okay, let's look at the next story now. Moving on to the next story we have for you today. We just talked about the president approving the National Construction and Household Support Program. Let's take a look at the next story on our agenda for today. All right, the federal government announces boosting nation's economy. The federal government has reported significant boosts in the nation's economy, with the excess crude account standing at $473.75 million and stabilization account of over 28 billion naira. The government also said that the nation's natural resources fund stood at over 53 billion naira. And the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edun, he disclosed this at the 142nd National Economic Council meeting that was presided over by its chairman, Vice President Kashim Shettima, and this happened in Abuja. A statement on the NEC meeting was made available to newsmen by Mr. Stanley Watcher and the senior special assistant to the president on media. Well, he has said that the vice president linked the boost in Nigeria's economic outlook to the financial prudence and transparency framework adopted by President Bola Tinubu. You know, these stories like this should really be explained. Thank God you are an economist, so that you will tell us. Because sometimes when we hear that there has been a boost in the economy, or sometimes when we look at some of these reports like the MBS report and even the international bodies now when they report on our economy, sometimes it looks like the economy is showing a different light from the light that we are seeing it, from the way we are feeling it at home. So is that possible? How does that even work?
Well, what you have is figures. Figures, Nigeria economy, excess crude accounts. So from that name, excess crude accounts. Supposed to be an account where from their budgets, the excess from what they cap, you know, the limits, they channel it into that account. So it's an excess crude account, money gotten from oil revenues. Now, when they're trying to pat themselves in their back or celebrate themselves, can they also tell us the excess crude accounts of countries like Saudi Arabia, Gabon, Libya, Iran? These are oil-producing countries in the world. It's just like a pupil or a student in school. You came 6th position, and you are so excited. I came 6th position in class. But there's people that are...
What is your average?
Yes, and maybe your average is 46.5 as your average. 46.5 is less than 50. And you scored 46.5 as an average, and you're so excited. You're so happy. You are jumping and playing around and shouting. But there's someone in your class that his average is 98.9. So you need to sit back and ask yourself, what is wrong with me? I need to wake up. I need to do more. We have $400-something million. Is that what our excess crude account used to be? Of course, I must commend them. I must at least celebrate with them that the Nigerian excess crude account is coming up. But how does that translate to the man or to the woman in the market who cannot buy a cup of gari to drink?
Exactly. How does that affect the price of gari in the market?
How does that translate to someone who can afford to transport himself to the farm or to work? So,
but isn't it supposed to, in a way, affect the prices of goods and services?
It can only affect if the people if there is prudent management of our resources. This excess crude account we have, I'm very happy that they have brought the figures out. If we have leaders that will sit down and ask themselves critical questions, Nigeria is like a patient. When a patient is sick, let's say he has common cold or flu, there are symptoms that come. The case of Nigeria has gone beyond that. It's in a critical situation where you take the patient to an ICU, intensive care unit. That will require a serious medical attention to resuscitate and revive and restore this patient from dying. That's the state of our economy. And poverty, very high, very alarming. Insecurity, very high, very alarming.
Well managed, this could actually impact the prices of products in the market.
Yes, depends on our priorities. If there's prudent management, if all those channels of corruptions are blocked, if we prioritize important things, not spending billions for pilgrimage. I'm a Christian, but we could use that money and build industries. We have heard so much about we are going to do this, we are going to build the people. Invest in education and technology. The world has left us behind. We are still running to our villages when other countries in the world, they are exploring space. They are doing a lot of things. I'm not saying we should go and start exploring space. Like I saw recently about sending a Nigerian, sending a Nigerian to space.
So we're also going there.
We should start with the space of people's stomach and mind, because a hungry man is an angry man. We should start with the space of food security, because a nation that cannot feed herself cannot defend herself.
You just talked about us, other countries evolving and we being left behind, and now this is a move for us to also evolve and get advanced in technology. And in the same breath, you are still talking about, well, why don't we focus on the spaces of people's stomach before we get to look
Let
at
me
this?
clarify you what I'm talking about so it doesn't look confusing. There are stages in development. There is a ladder. Before you get to the top floor, you climb the steps. Now, those countries that are going to space, they have dealt with these problems that we're talking about. They have left that stage. As a poet, even though I'm an economist, I'm also a poet. Shakespeare, a famous poet and writer, he talks about the world is a stage and we are the players. I can't quote it exactly, but he's talking about the stage. There are stages. So in the development ladder, there are stages of development. you go step by step. Those countries have dealt with basic problems, provision of water, electricity, making sure that a significant percentage of their population is out of poverty. You know, the population of hungry people is reduced, illiteracy is reduced, healthy nutrition is available, security is provided, good road network is provided, the rail system is working.
Don't you think all
They've dealt with those things.
all of these have been dealt with, yes, because those are developed countries. Nigeria is still a developing nation.
We have been calling developing. We also have other countries that are developing that have gone ahead of us.
Sure, of course.
So what stage of development are we, and how are we developing? Are we really developing? That's the question. We can't say we are developing. We are over 60 years as an independent country, and we can't provide water, clean, safe water, to at least 80% of the citizens of this country. What kind of, how are we, you know, when you sit down and critically analyze and ask yourself questions, the question is, what are we doing 60 years? Imagine a 60 years old man that can't drink, he can't buy a bottle of water, and he's telling you he's developing. The question you ask him, will you develop in the grave? Because you are getting old. So for over 60 years, we can't deal with sanitation, good sewage disposal. So we can't be talking about space when there is an army of hungry people. If you are the president or the governor, when you go to bed, what you should be thinking about is how to deal with these problems. Not just coming to say, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Political speeches, the time for political speech is over. It's time to act it.
All right, let's also hope that the very first story we took will be one of those actions that we would get to see after speeches. Because Nigerians are like, when you talk, act, or talk, act the talk, or how do they call it?
Walk the talk.
Okay, all right. Let's look at this next story on FCCPC, when we talked about businesses and the prices of goods going up there and inflation and all that. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, they're set to sign a memorandum of understanding with supermarket owners under the aegis of Retail Council of Nigeria and National Association of Supermarket Operators of Nigeria to ensure price transparency. The acting executive chairman of the FCCPC, Dr. Adamu Abdullahi, he disclosed this at a media briefing after a stakeholders meeting with members of RCN and NASON in Lagos yesterday. Few days ago, Abdullahi noted that the meeting is in line with FCCPC's mandate of promoting collaboration among stakeholders. Price transparency is another thing. You know, it's quite annoying when you go to a shop or retail shop especially and you don't find the prices there. Or you step in today, it's this price, and then the next day, just the next day, the same product you saw on the shelf, it was not bought and replaced. The same product you saw on the shelf, you come in the next day and that product, the price has gone up. And people ask what happened. You didn't buy, you didn't restock. So what changed? So they are actually talking about price transparency in retail shops, especially.
It's a good development. I must commend them. As public affairs analysts or social commentators who are talking for development, we must be bold to commend good things. We are not critical of government. What we do is constructive criticism, where we also share solutions, a solution-based criticism that will aid or help leaders and every one of us to build ourselves. So this is a very positive sign, a good development, and I must commend the authorities for trying to check these people that are abusing the price system. Now, let us look at the root cause of the problem. Greed is a sickness. Greed. And one of the stickers that is stamped on a person that is suffering from the disease of greed. It's just like a novel I read many years ago when I was quite young. In that novel, they talked about a particular sickness called sleeping sickness. When you are bitten by the tsetse fly, you suffer from that sleeping sickness disease. I've forgotten the medical name, but it's sleeping sickness. Greed is like that. And in the case of greed, when you are bitten by the fly, when that mosquito or that fly or that particular insect that spreads it bites you, it infects your entire, especially from your mind. Now, when you are greedy, you want to exploit. And it is a common disease in Nigeria today. People have this push that if I can exploit, every opportunity they have.
Why do we have that case? Why does it seem like it's so rampant?
It's so rampant because long-term abuse, an abused system, or when the people have been subjected to psychological, emotional, financial, intellectual, all forms of abuse you can think of or imagine, they become injected with the byproduct of the abuse, and greed comes in them. They feel that if I can grab as much as I can, I'll be okay. So a market woman that is in the market bought 3 pieces of fish for 3,000 naira, and she wants to sell it for 20,000 naira. Of course, in business, you must make profit. But when you want to make so much from the little you have, by exploiting people to the fullest, you are suffering from greed. And greed is a common problem. Greed cannot only be fixed by legislation. Greed can be fixed by reformation and transformation of the mind. You cannot legislate the fixing of greed, but you can reform. So this is a place where religious leaders, non-governmental organizations, families, we need to really walk in.
All right, before we get to the recommendations and what should be done and what should not be done now, there's a common saying in Nigeria that when the price of a product goes up, it never goes down. Even when, okay, I would use transport as an example in Port Harcourt. Remember back then, not too long ago, when it used to be 50 naira for every stop. And then there was an increase in the price of petrol at that time. I remember at that time we had the bad fuel that came into Nigeria that destroyed a lot of engines. And because of that, there was fuel scarcity. And so the hike in transportation came. So every stop was 100 naira, follow me. Every stop became 100 naira instead of 50 naira. Now, after that period, we had the price of fuel come down again. But you see that money? There was no reduction from 100 naira, and it has been that way till today. And this is just an example amongst many other products we have. And Nigerians have been saying it, like it's a common saying, that once the prices of goods go up, it never goes down, even though the factor that led to the increase has been adjusted.
I don't know what I would say is they want to create a scientific law for prices of goods, that once it goes up, it will never come down.
But have you ever, have you also noticed
I have not just noticed, I have experienced it. Because I do go to the markets, I do interact with people, and I live in a community. So I have experienced it. I am a living witness to this problem of price. The reality is what I was saying earlier, that greed is a sickness. And when you are bitten by that insect, that fly that spreads the disease called greed, you find it difficult. So there are people that, looking at it generally, you can see that economic realities, there's a multiplier effect of energy cost and all that, especially energy cost, because we depend so much on petroleum products in our country. And you can't expect people to sell a particular product at 6 naira when they are paying more for the transportation or the movement of the good, because the goods have to be transported from one place to the other. There is a movement that takes place, and they pay for it. More energy costs will affect the prices of goods and services in the market. That is clear. But many people are abusing the system irrespective of the fuel cost. You cited an example of when the fuel prices comes down, and yet the price of a particular commodity is stagnant.
Okay,
It doesn't
so
move.
let's look at, aside the greed that you have mentioned now, let's look at the other side of it now. We have spoken from the angle of the consumer. Let's speak from the angle of these people who sell these products now. You've heard that. Okay, let's take it back to the example I cited. When these drivers were interviewed, they told us that yes, the price of fuel has dropped, but when it comes to the prices of the parts, motor parts, it has skyrocketed. So they still have to somehow maintain that so that they can repair their vehicles when there's a problem. So if we look at it from their own angle and looking at their own excuse now, I'll give you another explanation from, should I say, you mentioned the market women, right? Let's use that, the market women now, the other people who sell products. By the time they go back to buy that product, it is usually double the price or even increased. Do you understand what I'm saying now? So when they hear it, especially with fuel price, it happens a lot. Once it is announced in the news that fuel price is this amount, fuel stations change their prices immediately with the products that they already have on ground. And this is because, according to their arguments, by the time they go back to buy this product, it will be double. So if they do not do that, they will get to lose. So would you still call it greed with these examples?
That's why I said that's one part of it. Greed is one part of it, but there are other economic factors and realities that you incorporate that will give you what we're having today. Another part of it is the bad roads that we have, poor infrastructure. The other day I was traveling, and the road we're passing through was so bad that the vehicle broke down. It broke down because the road was flooded, and we came down from the vehicle, spent a lot of time trying to get another vehicle that would take us to complete our journey. These drivers, they are going through a lot. Yes. Part of the sickness of our economy. The economy is sick, very, very sick. It's convulsing, and it's, it's just like an epileptic patient. Wow. That's a state. The economy is sick. So it beats my mind and imagination when I see some politicians or some people talk.
But that's actually not to cause any disrespect to the patients that you have mentioned, the epileptic patients.
No, I'm not. I'm a humanitarian, so I have so much love for that. Now, I'm just trying to clarify that you can correlate, the state of sickness. I'm just trying to use that as a picture to explain, pictorial explanation of the state of our economy. With all respect to those people who are sick, I wish them good and quick recovery. Another part of it that is responsible is that most of what we consume is imported, and we pay in foreign currency, dollars, pounds, and all that, from China, from the UK, from the United States.
Importing more than you export.
Yes, and if you look at the case, using a case study of transportation business in Nigeria, these drivers need to buy motor parts, and most of those motor parts, they are imported, and they have to pay in dollars. And when you look at the exchange rate, $1 to a naira, see how much is just $1 can fetch you in naira. So if you buy a motor part for $200 today, and tomorrow it is $300, imagine how much you're going to, so much naira you will use to get that particular motor part. That will translate to the price of that will be sent to you. They will bear the cost. The consumers will not bear more cost.
The cost of everything. And that's what happens. We get to carry everything at the end of the day as consumers.
It's a multiplier effect, but the skeleton of the matter is that the economy needs to be treated, because the economy is in a very bad shape. So if we have good economic policies, we do have them. But if we put them into practice to the upliftment of the lives of people. I do tell people that whatever position you occupy, whatever office you have, whatever space you are in, it is your responsibility to make a difference. Not just the government, and as an individual, as wherever you are, make a difference, because our society is in a state where people are losing their conscience. No more human feeling anymore, because they have been subjected to long-term abuse. So they no longer have this human feeling and connection. They're just looking for how to grab it all mentality. So we need to take this back to the home.
All right, we'll have to look deeply into and critically into some of these issues that are being discussed. I actually wish amongst all the Nigerians that these cases will be critically looked into. But let's take some time off now, and when we return, we have other juicy stories for you. Please stay with us.
We just vote for government, but we not get good governance.
At all.
Roads so no day, light outside, the infrastructure it can't turn to be forbidden fruit for the city.
Corruption, well everything. Hello?
Hello, madam. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mrs. Atn. I am calling from the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs.
Okay. Okay, I've been expecting your call.
Madam, remove this your phone from loudspeaker.
Now my phone be like that. Hello?
Are you there?
I hear, I'm hearing you.
Yes. We saw a copy of your invoice for computers, printers, and laptops.
Yes. Are you working on them now?
Ma, the prices you quoted are way too high now.
Madam, sorry, please don't cost.
We found the laptop you said is 1.8 million naira for 600,000 naira.
Hello?
Now my body network there.
I can't hear you. Network is bad.
Madam, we can hear you. Continue.
Hello, I can't hear you. I will call you back.
That behavior not good now.
Madam, now this kind behavior they kill our country. You suppose do things differently, make Nigeria for better.
Corruption not in my country. This message is brought to you by the Atn Sunday Foundation, the Marketer Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
corruption not in my country.
I don't get a lot. Boy, they won't booga me small. They say, man, give them bribe. I say, nothing. Okay, now, we'll go block later. You remember that contract we will do that time now? They don't pay.
But first, you see the house rent with the old things. We go first call caretaker, take the money, slap am.
Beg, see, you know, say I get annual levy why they pay for club. Where me and boys they shark beer in our house, I could pay that one. You remember say me and tell you I go buy you motor. I go buy now.
Okay, they pay you money now. Why we don't they beg caretaker? Why would they beg landlord, old man, and they agree give us time? Money can't come now. You won't divert time. You said na corruption. Corruption, not in my house and not in my country.
Sure?
Sure.
Corruption not in my country. This message is brought to you by the Atn Sunday Foundation, the Marketer Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
corruption not in my country.
Kasali, I hope so my car don't ready. I get interview in 30 minutes.
Okay, you not ready. I just the last minute instruction where you give me yesterday. Now in the cause more delay.
Which instruction?
Maybe now you say make I change the meter, make you no read again.
Which time I make you change meter? Oh, Kasali, why you do like this now? Eh? You don't get sense. You don't read the text message. Nobody I want send them to. Now, Kasali, my electrician, make it come house, call me, do my meter so that you don't go to read again. You know electrician?
Your electrician?
Yes, now.
So you call Kasali electrician, make it come help you adjust your meter, make it for no read again, Abi. So you said you want join people where be say they no want they pay NEPA bill again, Abi. Oga, you know good now. You don't use them, you don't behave like all these stiff people.
Oh, what you change from your motor? What you change from?
Full light. Fuel gauge. Speedometer.
For what you know, you for come for home my motor. I better identify for me.
Okay. Now don't do something we corrupt. And something come backfire. Now go come they find how to dodge them.
What you talk?
They greet you.
Corruption not in my country. This message is brought to you by the Atn Sunday Foundation, the Marketer Foundation,
and with broadcast support from Atlantic Television Network.
To know you're still with us and good to have you back. Welcome back. It's still Atn Sunday right here on Atlantic Television Network. I have my guest, Daimai Manuel George, who had been talking to us and telling us what he thinks about the stories that we've been analyzing in the studio. He is a development economist. Well, down to the next story now. Central Bank of Nigeria says it will continue to implement more policies to tackle cybersecurity challenges, foster innovation, to ensure stability and integrity of the financial system. The Deputy Governor of Financial System Stability at CBN, Mr. Philip Ikezo, says this during a two-day Financial Institutions Training Center FinTech conference that was held in Lagos. And the theme of this event was building trusts. Talking of trust now. Building trust in the digital age, balancing performance with compliance. And according to him, issues such as cybersecurity threats, data breaches, and digital fraud are persistent concerns that could erode customer confidence in the system. Because also said the Apex Bank, in addition to existing measures in working on new regulations to further enhance performance and compliance, he said the new regulations will then focus on two key areas: the corporate governance and licensing. Issues like this. But before I go into instances, let's get to the thoughts of this one now.
Well, cybersecurity is very important for the development of any nation. But there is a link between poverty and cyber crimes. I am not excusing or making excuses for those who want to involve in cyber crimes. But the reality is, the central bank, as they're taking this step, which is good, they should also create opportunities for young people in this country. We have a large population, and a bulk of that population, a good size of it, a good percentage of it, they are young people. So what opportunities have we created for the youths? I think the central bank should start asking that question. They should start the cyber crime. I wrote a research paper on cyber crime in Nigeria. In the course of my research, I found out that many young people that have get themselves or that are involved in cyber crimes are people that have been cut off, like they have been cut off from opportunities, economic opportunities, some of them educational opportunities. They have been cut off from opportunities that will empower them and help them to grow and thrive. So what is the alternative for them? Cyber crimes. you don't need to, the cyber crimes has become like a company, a mega company in Nigeria today, cyber crimes, because the underlying factors and the root causes have not been dealt with by the government and the leaders.
But you know, there are also accusations or allegations that even people in the system, some of them might be involved in the cybercrime cases.
Of course, cybercrime is a very serious issue. It's a serious security issue that requires efforts by both the governments, the private sector, because even as a private business, your data or important information in your business can be compromised. You can see it in the United States when their infrastructures most times are attacked by malicious and cyber criminals, cross-border cyber criminals, so you can call them cyber terrorists from other countries in the world who are attacking their critical infrastructure. They are to steal data or to get important information. So in the case of Nigeria, if we want to talk about cyber security, we need to look at the drive. What is driving people into cybercrime? Poverty. A young boy, 12, 13, 14 years, is already in a cyber criminal company, being trained and mentored.
No, we have companies that's what they do.
Yes, the cybercrime. They might not be physical company with structures online, because the online space.
People.
Yes.
And training them.
They are trained. They are well trained.
To carry out criminal activities.
To carry out, yes, of course, because that's where. When you see young people, some of them driving flashy cars and spraying money, living big, that's the easiest way for them. Like it's an alternative. I'm not saying that, I'm not making excuses for them.
You're telling us.
I'm trying to paint the picture of how bad it is.
This is a revelation.
Yes, cybercrime is a company. It's a mega company. And many young people in Nigeria are working in that company because the government have failed to understand the importance of empowering the youth. Empowering the youth should not be only when it's time for election. We should continuously create opportunities for young people. Someone graduated from the university for 4 or 5 years, no job, and then the age limit for the job is 27 years. I'm more than 30 years now, and I want to apply for a job, and you're telling me not less than 26 years. When did the person finish university? When did he go for youth service? When did he do all that? So he can't even have an opportunity. So if I'm not a diligent person, I might be thinking, okay, what is the next? Is it not to press my laptop and defraud people of money? So it has become an appealing and an easy platform. So it's dangerous.
They're not even easy now. It takes a lot of brain work. It takes a lot of expertise and calculation for that to actually be done. That's in the guise that you have described it now.
It does. That's why I say they have a school. They have a cybercrime school.
A real revelation. You found this out during your research?
I found it out because of my research and my interaction with people. They have a cybercrime school. They teach these people how to defraud and, steal people's money and all that. They train them, they teach them, they mentor them. You can see sometimes they will house like 20 or 30 guys in one room, with all of them with laptops. They are not learning coding. They are not learning software engineering. They are not learning robotics.
And they are not also sleeping at night.
So what are they involved in?
Another issue that we really need to look at is, when we talk about banks now and people in these systems defrauding customers of their monies, according to some allegations that we've heard. The other day, I was somewhere when I heard some people having a conversation. Someone said he doesn't use ATM cards, and then when he was asked why, he said once because he got a card for that account, which that's what he feels. He feels that this happened because he got a card. And before he woke up in the morning, alerts, debit alerts throughout the night. He said he couldn't sleep. He was just hearing the alerts. His money was going. So in the morning, he had to run down to the bank. And all of those chaos you have to, because everywhere you go to the bank to complain, they want to say, oh, go and fill a form or sit down here until you act wild before the manager will come down and then you'll be attended to. So he had to do all of that. So he no longer trusts the system. And that is not the only person who... So what happened to also making stringent measures to make sure that this is almost, if possible, impossible for people in the system to defraud? Because he actually suspects that it could be people in the system that actually did that to his account.
Actually, you cannot totally stop fraud. Even there's no country in the world where you will not still see one form of fraud or cyber attacks or the other. The goal should be minimizing it to the barest minimum. The issue of the cyber crimes, especially in banks, there are criminal elements everywhere. You find them in the banks, you find them in religious institutions. You will see these criminal elements. There will always be a bad egg in an organization. There will always be a bad egg. So you see them in the bank as well.
But something should be done.
What can be done is
we know there will definitely be that person.
With technology and consistent security trainings, we can address some of these things, because when it starts showing you signs, you quickly deal with it. You know, the signals, because you are trained, you can detect signals that something bad is going on in the system, and you quickly address it. Before someone starts siphoning or stealing millions and billions, you have already tracked the person and you've gotten the person. So I will even suggest that the government, especially the Ministry of Education, should establish cyber crimes clubs or cyber security clubs in secondary schools, in primary schools, even in universities. People need many. If you go to many schools, I've been a teacher for many years. Some kids, they don't, apart from the fact that we have phones everywhere, where we have social media explosion, or social media is widespread. But there are so many people who are not still technologically included. They are not also technologically compliant. And they are not also technologically, they don't have technological advantage. You can say they are technologically disadvantaged persons in our society. So in this modern era, basic cyber security training should, even as an organization, should be taught and trained. Staff should be trained on basic, even your phone. There was a time that I thought my Facebook has been hacked. I was scared. I have to call my friends who are cyber security experts, and they taught me some basic steps to take. So basic cyber security trainings should be put in place in organizations, in the civil service, in our schools. We should have clubs that teach young people on what to do, how to take, protect them, their identity, because another form of cyber security crime is identity theft. Somebody can impersonate using your identity to defraud others. If you go online, it happens a lot online, especially on Facebook and social media. Some other person will be using another person's picture, maybe the governor's picture, and will be interacting with you. But the person is impersonating. That's a cyber criminal act that the person is involved in to defraud you. So how do you identify these persons? What are their modus operandi, or what are their methodology? How can you detect that this is a criminal that is appearing to be what he is not? He is an identity thief trying to use some other person's identity to defraud others. Yes. So there is so much orientation that we need to pour out, we need to give in the society. Our young people need to be taught on how to use the internet space wisely and safely, how they can protect themselves from even all these bullies, internet bullies, how they can also not be involved in cyber crimes, because most of them recruit their potential staff online. And another thing that makes these cyber crimes more appealing is this paparazzi materialistic lifestyle that a lot of people showcase on social media. You see a young boy of 20 years, he does not have any legitimate source of income, and he's flashing cars and shoes, clothing, expensive things.
Can we really take that out of the society?
No, we can, but we can orientate
on social media.
We can orientate people to begin to tame down their appetite, this appetite that they're having, control it, discipline their appetites for these materialistic things. For me, when I was growing up, that's what I was taught in our house. My mom took time to teach us that there is dignity in labor. You should earn your meal. Like you should earn what you are getting. You should work to earn something for yourself. You should be happy for what you have worked for. You should understand that life is a process. Success is a process. Wealth creation is a process. Prosperity is a process.
Right.
You cannot just get it in one day. You must build a foundation. And that foundation, you are going to build this wealth step by step. So if I have grown with that culture of discipline and that reformed mindset, you can't expect me to lose my appetite because I go online and I see a young boy of 12 years or 18 years or 20 years driving a limousine or a Benz or an expensive car. No, because I understand that that is not the process that I need to go through to become successful or wealthy. So if I was not taught, then I become vulnerable to begin to lose my appetite, to want to copy or emulate those things I'm saying, or get involved in cybercrime.
You know, talking about the internet and also talking about orientation, another thing that, just to add to that now, another thing that people really need to be taught is how to really use the internet. A lot of people don't really know how to use the internet. They just know that you go up there to watch videos and laugh. But the truth is, even those videos you're watching, people are making money from it. There are a lot of legal and legitimate ways that people can make money. That's what I'm trying to say. Even if you're a young person and you have a very large appetite, there are legal ways you can make money, even with the same internet that you are using to defraud people. So I have noticed that a lot of young people do not even know this. The only thing a lot of them know is just make skits. And if they can't make skits, they believe that there's no other way they can make money online. There are several ways you can make money online legitimately without having to defraud anybody or steal anybody's money. All right, now let's move on to the next story now. At the backdrop of sustained surge in inflation, it has been established that costs of a healthy diet has risen by 32% to over 1,000 naira per adult per day in May 2024 from 786 naira in December 2023. I would like to take that particular paragraph again because it's beginning to look like I need to be sure of what I just said. You know, the MBS has disclosed. The MBS has disclosed that it has been for inflation. It has been established that the cost of a healthy diet has risen to over 1,000 naira per adult, and by over 1,000 naira, I'm talking about 1,000 naira 41 kobo, you know, per adult, and this actually rose from 786 naira in December 2023 to 1,000 naira in 2024. And the NBS has disclosed this yesterday in a report for May 2024, and it noted that the rise was driven by increase in the prices of starchy staples, legumes, nuts and seeds, and animal source food. And the analysis of the NBS report for the period, that's December 2023, just December last year, and May this year, has shown that the cost of healthy diet has increased by 9.2% month on month to 858 naira in January, 786 naira, that's from 786 naira in December. Within just 1 month, there was that increase. And the increase by 9.3% to 938 naira in February, and then in March we had 982 naira. Just take a look at how it kept rising until we got to May this year, where it is now over 1,000 naira. That's 1,041 naira in May. Now my issue with this, should I call it an issue, or I would say my concern with this particular report, when I saw that the cost for a healthy meal per day is about 1,000, and is it per day now, or is it just one meal? Because I'm looking for where someone can get meal, a healthy meal, like it has been stated, for 1,000 naira with this economy. That report should also be looked into. Deima, do you also believe that it's possible for us to get a healthy meal for 1,000 naira? This is May, the report in May anyway.
It depends on what you call healthy meal.
What they call healthy.
And it also depends on what they call healthy meal. So I can't pass judgment on that.
We're talking about you now.
Okay, for me.
Yes, your thoughts.
Now, I can speak for myself individually.
Go on.
Healthy meal for 1,000 naira. I don't know the meal I'm going to buy that is 1,000 naira. Because the last time I went to market, and it has not been too long, I do go to the market.
Okay, impressive.
Yes, as a bachelor that's not yet married.
You have to cook.
Yes.
Of course. And
So I am not talking from theory. I'm talking from practical. A practical-based analysis. The least piece of fish, which is protein, and even in secondary school, we learned about the classes of food. That balanced diet is a diet that consists of the basic nutrients, that the things you need to live healthy. Protein is one of it. The least piece of fish was sold for nothing less than 1,600, 1,500. So whether it is 1,000 naira that gives you a healthy meal or less or more, the reality is that many Nigerians are malnourished. Highly malnourished. They are not feeding well. And if someone is not feeding well, it will even affect his thinking. Yes. If you're not getting the basic, your thought process will be damaged, will be affected. Because you can't think well. When you're hungry, I've experienced it. When I was in the university many years ago, I remember I slept a night. I was in school for many hours, and then I didn't eat, I think, from morning till evening. I got back from school, I didn't eat in the evening, and I have to sleep that night without food. I couldn't sleep. Hunger woke me up. I couldn't sleep, I was restless.
I can imagine how it is for the people who could actually...
Yes, and you can't expect me at that time to be thinking about macroeconomics and microeconomics and this. There was no macro, it was the macro and micro worms in my stomach. So in reality, the question is, we as a country, we need to pay serious attention to food security. If we don't feed well as a nation, we cannot grow, we cannot develop. We call ourselves, we are the giant of Africa. We are the giant of Africa. The giant is hungry.
Wow.
If the giant is hungry, the giant cannot walk. That's why the system is not working.
No matter how gigantic the
No matter how gigantic, even if it's as huge as the Titanic, if the giant is hungry, so what do? It beats my imagination. My research thesis for my first degree was on food security, was related to the agricultural sector and food security. Based on my research, I realized that one of the major constraints or impediments to food security in Nigeria is the lack of poor storage facilities. Take, for example, perishable foods like tomatoes, which is very expensive today. Tomatoes is like a king. Can't buy tomatoes in the market. It's very expensive.
I saw three units of tomatoes. Since we're talking about that, I saw 3 units in the supermarket for 6,900 naira. Just 1, 2, 3. Packed in nylon for that amount.
That can pay someone's school fee before, when the naira was alive.
Years ago.
So imagine using 3 pieces of pepper to pay somebody's school fee before. So you can imagine. I realized that storage facilities, these are areas. That's why when I read and hear the government talk about they want to share 50,000 to 100,000, invest this money in the agricultural sector so that you can improve the food security. You can secure.
People do not even trust the process of saying we want to invest in this and want to invest in that. A lot of people have lost it because they're like, invest in agriculture. Okay, what if it doesn't affect the price of Gary in the market? The normal Nigerian man is not interested in what you are saying that you have invested in agriculture. How many times have we heard investments in agriculture? But we'll get to agriculture now. We have a full story on agriculture where we get to discuss that fully.
Change does not just happen. People make change happen. In fact, leaders make change happen. When they start acting it out, it will reduce the price. This is not rocket science. This is not a complex thing that it's not a code that you cannot break in. The fact is, if we want to improve the food security, we want to improve healthy nutrition, we need to pay attention to this agricultural sector. I believe we'll talk more about that.
Talk more about, but my concern is how anyone would say 1,000 naira would provide a healthy meal. How?
They might be right.
No, that's why we need more explanation. Like, tell us, maybe we should actually go down to that MBS report, you know, and then check the explanation of how 1,000 naira in May could have provided a healthy... Please, what is a healthy meal?
Well...
Are we talking about just fruits? Because even fruits are expensive now. And this is not me crying concerning the economy or anything. I'm just trying to wrap my head around anyone saying 1,000 naira would provide a healthy meal.
I don't want to spend so much energy to analyze whether 1,000 naira can really provide a healthy meal or not. But what I want to spend energy on is how many people can even afford that 1,000 naira? How many people have the 1,000 naira?
Even with your 1,000 naira, you'll be thinking of what to buy. You'll be thinking of how to put this together and put that together. Even if you have the 1,000 naira now, not so many people do. Well, let's move on to the next story before this turns into something else. Governors from the southern part of Nigeria, under the aegis of the Southern Governors Forum yesterday, a few days ago, called for the consideration of the ability of each state to pay the new minimum wage. Their call came as the Nigerian Governors Forum said Wednesday night that it will continue to engage stakeholders to reach a mutually agreement or agreeable solution to the new minimum wage crisis. Although President Bola Tinubu was in an unusual manner present at the National Economic Council meeting, often chaired by the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, but this time the President was available and he said no word about the new minimum wage. The Vice President said nothing about it either. This is even as organized labor raised the alarm that both public and private sector and workers were becoming restive over the delay in concluding the new minimum wage, and we're pushing labor leaders to declare industrial action to quicken the process. Now, normally in this NEC meeting, you wouldn't find the president. It's usually the vice president who stands in. That's Kashim Shettima now. So when we heard in the news that the president will be available for this meeting, and he said it is because of the importance of this conversation. We were expecting to hear that this is what the president has said now. But having the news report that nothing was stated by both the president and the vice concerning the minimum wage, this is something that a lot of Nigerians I don't think would smile at the moment, because we're really expecting to find out why do you think there's so much delay and, you know, dragging of feet with the whole minimum wage talks?
Where your heart lies is where your priority lies. Yeah. If what you prioritize, what is important to you? When I was in secondary school, my teacher taught us something very important. He called it 4 steps in decision making. One of the steps, he said, you want to do something, look at if it is very important and very necessary. I don't want to go into the other steps, but let's just pick the one. Very important, very necessary. This minimum wage or national wage or whatever name we want to tie to the wage, is it important to the government? It's not much. I'm not so much worried. I'm not worried if the president said something or didn't say anything. What is important is what is being done. Done, closed doors, done in public view. What action, concrete action that is taking place.
It's the statement of the president that's going to call for the action.
Well,
and that's why we were waiting to hear the new minimum wage, or if we're going to stay on the 60-something thousand naira that the president has mentioned already.
Even the 60,000 or 62,000, have it been implemented? Some governors are saying
not agreed to that.
Some governors are saying that they can't pay
They can't even afford it.
And they can't afford it. That's why I started by saying where your priority lies. And I used one of the steps that I was taught in secondary school in decision making very important and very necessary. They have not seen it as very important and very necessary. If they do, they will realize that this sickness, this hunger in this country is rising. Poverty is increasing. 60,000 naira cannot even take you home, cannot pay your children's school fees. We have the potential to take care of the citizens of Nigeria, make their life meaningful. My mission statement is that life is meaningful when you make other lives meaningful. That's my mission statement for me. So anything I am doing, my actions are defined by my mission statement, because I believe that the meaningfulness of my life is not tied to all about making my own life meaningful alone, because as an individual, you are in a society, you are a microcosm of a society, and so therefore, your meaningfulness should add to the meaningfulness of others and also help to make other lives meaningful so that you can be in a meaningful society. That is what should define leadership and governance. Minimum wage should not be a crisis, because we as a country, we have the resources, both human, material and financial resources, to make sure that basic infrastructure and basic services are rendered to the people. We take out people from the have-nots and make them, empower them to have. People should not go to bed hungry in this country. People should not sleep in houses without roofs. People should not be sleeping under bridges. People should not be, walking depraved and dehumanized, humiliated. So it is a call for our leaders to please realize that the opportunities and the positions they have is for the people. And if we want to borrow from the definition of democracy by Abraham Lincoln, we said it is a government of the people. So your leadership, or the leaders, should realize that if they are not working for the interest of the people, they are failing the people. It is applied to as an individual. It is also applied to you as a father in the house. If you're not taking care of your children, you're not paying their school fees, you're not providing food for the family, you are failing your responsibility, because you have a responsibility to make sure that what you should do for your family, you do the right thing. So let us pray and hope that they were going to listen to the people, because the reality is that people are going through hell.
This has been on for a long time now. We expected that by now this whole talk back and forth between the federal government and the labor union now would have been a topic of the past, something that would have gone past, and we have other things to talk about. We have other things to address. We can't keep dragging our feet with the minimum wage. And a lot of people are wondering, why don't you just make the pronouncement or just come to an agreement? And now Labour has said that they're having pressures that to go back to the strike. And if Labour goes, okay, look at when just that day, the first day they actually went on that strike, look at what happened, look at how much Nigeria lost. And that is not something that we should be looking at right now. We should not be looking at losing more money when the economy at the moment is already strained. So that's something that should be looked into. I believe that other Nigerians also want that to actually come to an end now. As the federal government intensifies effort to diversify the economy by opening up other sectors in order, this is the next story now, by opening up other sectors in order to generate foreign exchange and also create jobs, former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Yakubu Dogara, he asserted that the oil palm, this is the agricultural story now, the oil palm subsector will spin up to 16.2 trillion naira for the economy. And Dogara has asserted that the oil palm industry, if given the well-deserved attention at both federal and state levels, over 2.5 million millionaire household will be created in 3 years to over 30 years sustainably. He also stated that after he was conferred with the title of National Grand Patron of National Palm Produce Association of Nigeria in Abuja, this was where he made the statement by the leadership when he was made this by the leadership of the association. This is a lot. I know a lot of people do not know or don't even have the idea that palm oil industry could actually milk in this much for the country.
Nigeria is a blessed country, so blessed. Palm oil, you see, the entire tree, every part of it is useful. Every part of that palm tree is money. You can make soap, you can make a lot of things from the palm oil. So much. Why are we not one of the largest exporters of soaps and cream, pomade, all these things in Africa? Why are we not? What stops us? Most of these companies in France, in Belgium, in Germany, they get the raw materials from Nigeria. We have been hearing a lot about this. Before I was born, they've been talking about it. I pray I've not passed on and it continue to talk about it. Because it's a transgenerational speech. When something becomes a transgenerational speech, it becomes like a statue that is not living.
But one will ask what changed. Because back then, we used to have this we used to be one of the best exporters of palm oil in the world, Nigeria now. So what actually changed? We still have palm oil. It's not like we ran out of palm oil, we ran short of palm oil in the country.
What changed is the leadership crisis that we're experiencing today. And many African countries are also experiencing. Leadership crisis. Leadership crisis. That's what changed. And when we talk about leaders, it's not just those in government or in the State House. This leaders is widespread. Look at it from the macro level. Now, the former speaker talked about diversifying. As a graduate of economics, I have heard that word a lot of times. In fact, one of the professors who taught us in class, or who gave a lecture on it, said that even himself, when he was young, he has been hearing a lot of, he has been receiving or participating in lectures that have been talking about they would diversify, they would diversify. When he was young, my professor who taught me in the economics class said he has been hearing, and he's old now. I think he's retired. And we're still talking about diversifying. We need to stretch this word diversify to diversifying from ignorance to a knowledge-based economy. Knowledge-based economy is not just chalk and board and chair. There is so much knowledge we can tap into. We can build our young people to teach them, even from primary school, they can be learning program. Most schools are doing it now. They can be learning software skills. They can be learning tech skills. Those in arts can be, they can start their arts knowledge there. Apart from teaching them 2 + 2 is 4. Look at what can the child do? What are his natural talents and abilities?
Since you have mentioned young people now, we have had cases of young people not really being interested in, agriculture as it may be. And that has also been stated as one of the problems and challenges that the agricultural sector is facing.
The young people not interested in agriculture is because agriculture is not made appealing. Make it look like something that is functioning. Now, if you talk about agriculture, and you see most people who are involved in that, we respect our elders. Most of them are elderly ones. If you go to most of the farms today, you will hardly see young people there. Because agriculture is not shovel, hoe, and cutlass. Bring in machinery and subsidize it. And bring subsidize it. And even you as a leader, as a local government chairman, as a governor, as a president, occasionally go to the farm yourself. Show good example. If you see the president, I'm not saying the president should be going to farm every day. He can't leave his duty. But if you see the president visit a farm and give a moral boost to the farmers there, would that not encourage people to want to go into farming? Even you, as a leader, establish farms in my area where I'm staying. Every small piece of land, people are farming now. Hunger, I've taught some people farming. Many people who even dislike farming, hunger, the cost of garri in the market, they are now planting small vegetables around.
That's looking like some positivity in the negative.
Yes, some positivity, because hunger now is teaching people common sense. People are now using their hands. They don't want to be hungry. Bitter leaf, water leaf, everything. Even my neighbors, they are planting things. They are planting leaves. They are planting. Everybody is involved in one form of agriculture. Many people. Let me not just everybody. Many people. So what I'm trying to say is that if the former speaker is talking about diversify, the word diversify has been used so much. It has become like a Nigerian Nigerian language.
There are various issues when we talk about agriculture and why it is where it is in Nigeria today. We have insecurity. The farmer-herders clash is one big problem. So even farmers are scared of going to their farms. So even the ones who manage to go to their farms, when they bring out these products, it's up there. The prices are up there because of the risk that it took them. And then these market people, by the time they transport it from the farm to the market for you, double. And then the people who transport, as you see what's going on with the food sector in Nigeria. That is why food prices are so high. And then what about encouraging young people to be innovative when it comes to agriculture?
We have, yesterday I was speaking with a friend of mine, and I can tell you, we have a lot of potentials, but the young people in Nigeria, many of them are not lazy. I'm a youth myself, and I'm not lazy. And I can speak for millions of youths in Nigeria. They are not lazy. Even the ones that are involved in crimes, they are using the energy in the wrong place. The potentials of the young people in Nigeria, are the ones that will power this economy. I wrote a quote which I dropped on my Facebook. We talk so much about the leaders of tomorrow while ignoring the children of today. Because the children of today become the leaders of tomorrow. So if we want to build food security, let's also not forget the children of today. When a young, from that childhood stage, we should start building a system that they will not see agriculture. I've been a teacher for many years. In the class, I remember once asking the pupils, I was in primary school, and I also taught in the secondary school. I asked them, what would you like to be in future? I hardly saw a hand that said he wants to become a farmer. Because they see a farmer in their neighborhood as an old woman who is carrying shovel, hoe, and cutlass.
Even up till now?
Many of them are not using tools.
I remember back then, when we were in primary school and we were kids, we also had the ideology of agriculture. So I'm surprised that children, even up till now, still have that ideology.
Many of them are not interested in farming because they see farming as a poor man.
So the curriculum needs to be looked into too.
Exactly, educationally too.
When you say draw to farm equipments now, what the children are thinking of is the hoe and the cutlass. What happens to telling them that tractors are also used on the farm?
When I was teaching in a secondary school in Jalingo, I taught marketing. And there was a topic that I taught my students, and it has to do with agriculture. And Taraba State has a lot of farms, is an agrarian, and I taught them about what some other countries are doing. They are even they are using unmanned area vehicles, to drones.
Drones, I was going to mention that.
To carry some materials and equipment of fertilizers or some things to some interior parts of the farms, where transportation, you can't just easily access it, but they have taken a step ahead in the agriculture. They don't have so much population as we do. They put in technology and they invest in their knowledge base. Agriculture has gone beyond this traditional means to adding knowledge and value to become exceptional.
But is this in our curriculum? Are the children told? Did they even know? That's another. And then when you look at talking about education and agriculture, when you look at this faculty in our universities, you find out that a lot of the students there never applied for that course. They just happen to find themselves. When they give you the course, they're like, oh, it's better you take it. Just go to school. Any course they give you, just make sure that you're in school anyhow. So you find children or students who are not really interested in this sector, and they are there. And then even the ones who are interested, there's not enough practical, just theory for the lot of it.
When you make agriculture appealing, you get a lot of young people to become interested in it. We have some programs that people, I will not mention, but they spend millions as prizes. You see somebody will be dressed naked or do some crazy things, social things, and they are put in a house, and they are paid millions for showcasing their nudity and their nakedness and some kind of unnecessary things.
And actual work is not.
But the young guy, I have a friend who is a farmer. He's an agricultural economist. He has a farm. People like that, they don't get attention. They don't receive attention. How many of them can have access to funding? Before you go to get a fund, you go through a lot of bureaucratic bottlenecks and processes that by the time you are writing letters upon letters, application upon application, you become frustrated and you don't even get the money. So we need funding. We need to make the agricultural sector appealing. We need to incorporate it in our educational system. We need to catch them young, our young generation, younger people. We need to get them interested by making agriculture appealing to them. And we need to see agriculture as the business of every one of us. Because I remember when I was a little boy, we used to do debates. And one of the topics is farmers are better than doctors. I happen to speak for farmers. And one of the points I raised is that even if you're a doctor, you will still need to eat food so that you'll be healthy to treat the patients. So agriculture is a business of all. So that's
I remember once on our sister radio station where we had to interview some young people now. I think a girl, she came with her friends. She said that she represented Nigeria in the whole of Africa. Nigeria actually won that contest. It was on agriculture, if I remember right now. There was a challenge. So solve this particular challenge, this agricultural challenge. Think of a solution, and she came up with something. Or why don't we have a game that could, and that was the one that was chosen. And this is an internationally recognized body. I can't remember now whether it's UNESCO or so, but it's an internationally recognized body. But she was moving from radio station to radio station, begging for publicity. This is something that won this contest in an internationally recognized body, and then we don't even know about it. Thank God for the media who actually helped her come on air on the different media houses that she attended. So I believe that if we have better funding for agriculture, things like this, winners like this, things like this will be encouraged for people to get involved. That's like taking agriculture to the next level. That's like bringing in innovation in agriculture. You talked about making it interesting for the young people and getting them involved. We have one last story for you before we wrap things up. The former president, Goodluck Jonathan, has said that he believes that the present social uncertainty, which has sent shivers to all nooks and crannies of society, would also be overcome by the grace of God. However, Jonathan noted that while the federal government is doing its best to salvage the situation, what the country really needs now is collaborative efforts in finding solutions to present economic hardship. And the former president stated this at the DSP Alamesia's Bouquet Hall in Yenagoa on Friday while declaring open the 2024 annual Law Week in the Yenagoa branch of Nigerian Bar Association with the theme, The Legal Profession in a Time of Socio-Economic Uncertainty. He went on to describe the theme as what we really need right now, that it was chosen in view of the present economic hardship in the country, and that this presents an opportunity for a reflection on general governance issues and the need to address them urgently for the well-being of the citizenry. I would like to point out the part where he said that we need collaboration. Yes.
Well, that's a great one. It's a teamwork. One man can carry an elephant, so you need collaboration. It's a teamwork. The reality is that the knowledge we need to rescue our economy, knowledge is crying on the streets. Ignorance is running free. And ignorance is easy for many, so they can easily work with ignorance. But knowledge is not enough. If you have to put the knowledge, apply the knowledge. We pride ourselves as very knowledgeable people in this country. We are so proud of it. But unfortunately, we don't live the knowledge. Having knowledge is one thing. Applying the knowledge and living the knowledge is another thing. So it's not enough to have a knowledge or to have 1,000 solutions to our economic challenges. Are we putting, much of what we have shared here today, if the leaders are listening, if they can implement like 5% of it, there will be a difference. So, in summary of all we have said, is we want a better country, a working country, a living country, a healthy society. We cannot have a healthy society until we start taking the right decisions, because decision making is important to producing the right results.
So is that something that we cannot do on our own? Talking about having international cooperation, about insecurity, some people were suggesting that we should have international collaboration so that we can solve the problem of insecurity. But for the economic hardship now, do we really need international collaboration? Can't we solve this on our own?
The world is a global village. Even the United States, France, they all relate with other countries. Yes, we need international cooperation.
We do need that.
In the region, in ECOWAS, we have the Economic Community of West African States. Look at the first word, Economic Community of West African States. Why? Look at the African markets. We have the African Free Trade Agreement and all that. Of course, you cannot isolate yourself. If you're exporting your products, you're exporting it to other countries. If you're importing products, you're getting it from other countries. You need the expertise and knowledge of other countries. In the areas they have comparative advantage, you also need to share your own advantage and your products with other countries, because you trade, you buy, you sell. The world is a global village. So we need international cooperation. There the World Bank comes in, the United Nations comes in, the Food and Agricultural Organization comes in. All these international organizations working together with Nigeria, sharing ideas. It's not like it's everything they say you're going to take.
The times when we have had to get or bring in international help, or should I say foreign help now, how well did that go at the end of the day? How well did we really utilize it to solve the problem which we brought them in for?
That becomes our responsibility.
Because we still have our role to play. If we've not done our part, there's no, don't you think that how much can these people really do for us if we don't still have the political will to take the steps that we need to take?
If you are a father in a house and you're expecting a stranger to come and feed all your children, then you're wrong. The stranger can always give you some aid, but he cannot entirely aid you. The first aid that we need, is to mentally alleviate. We need mental alleviation. Because when you summarize the economic challenges, the political issues, the security issues, the social issues, the first aid we need to restore our economy is mental restoration. Mental restoration. When we are mentally restored, all these things we're talking about, we will now realize the importance of it, and we'll now start working on it.
Mental restoration, how do we even go about that?
How do we go about mental restoration? First, we have to tell ourselves the truth. Buy the truth and sell it not. We have to tell ourselves the truth. And what truths do we need to tell ourselves? Is that, one, our economy is failing. We are not making life better for the citizens of this country. That is the first aid that we need. To be honest with ourselves, to be truthful to ourselves. If you are sick of malaria and you are not honest, you're not truthful to yourself, you will not treat yourself. You will die as a result of that sickness. Your problem started with your deprived mindset, being ignorant of the truth, or being myopic or blinded to the truth or the reality or the sickness you are faced with. So mental alleviation starts with us telling ourselves the truth. Nigeria is not working. The system is not working. How do we make it to work for the citizens, for the young people, for the next generation, for the children of this country? How do we make it to work that the children of Nigeria can eat one healthy meal a day? How do we make it to work that the market woman, the man who goes to the farm,
square meals a day?
at least one healthy meal. I'm starting with one healthy meal.
One is too far.
No, let's start from one before we go to 3.
If you eat after 5 hours, you're hungry like you have not had anything the whole day.
There are many families that cannot afford 1 square meal.
So we're talking about where we're going now, right?
No, let's start from somewhere. That's why I said one healthy meal. You start from 1, then you start improving and you go to 3.
Okay.
Many families can't even afford 1. Yes, that's my recommendation. Let's start from 1. Healthy. I'm not talking about meal. There's a difference between a healthy meal and a meal. A meal, you can just throw anything. Even Gary, when we were growing up, they say Gary is a poor man's food. Now Gary is a rich man's food. It's on the exclusive list. If you can have Gary, you are rich. You cannot describe yourself as poor. Yes. So now when you talk about a healthy meal, is you look at the basic nutrients, the nutritional value. What is your nutritional intake? What the right nutrients you need at the right proportion for your health, right? With the ones you've had, work with it. We've had so many round tables, discussions, conferences, seminars, workshops. We have had, in 2007, I was in the library. I read Vision 2020. I took my time to do the research. There was a document that the CBN released on Vision 2020. This is 2024. Did we achieve any of them? It was beautiful on paper, but there was no implementation. So the problem is understanding the problem and having the determination to treat the problem.
This has been a long time coming. Like you said, you made mention of your lecturer who said he has been hearing, what's that word?
Diversification.
Diversification ever since he was young. And then you also, now he's teaching the next generation that the government, and also I'm in the media, so I've heard a lot of news stories where the government has told us, we will diversify. We are thinking of that. We're looking at diversifying. We're looking at agriculture. We're looking, but now it's no longer looking as juicy as it used to be at the moment.
If I can add to that word, as my professor said, he said when he was young, in the university, he was taught that Nigeria will diversify to agriculture. It has not happened. Now he was teaching us.
That Nigeria will.
You know, one of my fears is I don't want to tell my child that Nigeria will diversify to agriculture. And my child grew up to and he's saying the same thing.
What about private sectors coming in?
If I can add up something to that word.
Add before you come to
we need to diversify from ignorance to a knowledge-driven economy. We need to diversify from greed to humanity. We need to diversify from just sharing palliatives to building a prosperous society.
What about private sectors coming in? If we keep waiting for the government to do this, which we obviously have been waiting for some time and still haven't seen, what about getting more private sector involved or private sector owners involved?
Of course, it is the responsibility of, it's a joint approach. It's something that involves all of us. We are all stakeholders. Not only private sector, NGOs. I am involved in NGOs. On our own part, we are doing, NGOs are trying, they're doing quite a lot. And most times they don't get the recognition that they deserve. It's not about recognition, but it involves all of us. We are all together in rescuing the ship or the boat from sinking. Because the boat is about to sink. So we all have a responsibility to rescue this boat and the people on board the boat.
Remember, we're talking about private sectors investing in agriculture.
The private sector have a lot of responsibility. They have corporate social responsibility, CSR, and part of their corporate social responsibility could be investing in an agricultural fund in partnership with the state and federal government and local governments that will channel funding, just as we have the Education Trust Fund that is helping to provide infrastructure in our public universities and public institutions. We can have an agricultural fund that will not be mad or clouded with corruption and politicians, that the farmers can get access to funds.
We actually have that.
Okay, if we have that fund, we need to make it a living fund,
but some farmers
an accessible
do not even know
fund.
that this exists. A lot of farmers are not even aware. I had a guest the other day was complaining of funds, and then when he was told that we have all of that available, have you approached? have you attempted in getting it? He said no. He's not even aware of it. So a lot of farmers don't even know that they could go get loans for farmers. They could go get some of these grants that are available. The federal government has made available for them.
Yes, it's getting them aware is important, but also making it accessible is important. Is very important. More important even. Make it accessible. It's not to go through too many processes. Make it accessible so that these people can get the funds.
All right, at this point, we would have to wrap things up. As much as this conversation is getting really interesting, we have discussed various stories today. Can we take a quick look at some of the headlines that we have taken today? We started from this very juicy one that has, I'm very sure, will put smiles on the faces of a lot of Nigerians. From this very first one, talking about the president approving 50,000 naira grant and 155 billion naira food for households. Even though we don't know the criteria for choosing these people. And then another one we took was on the federal government announcing a boost as excess crude account gets $473 million. And then we took a story on business where FCCPC engaged supermarket owners on price transparency, and on cyber security where CBN to implement more policies to tackle challenges. We also took a story from inflation where healthy diets cost has risen to 32%. This is a statement by the MBS. And then on minimum wage, where each state will negotiate what it can pay. This was a statement by the governors now. On agriculture, we talked about oil palm getting us up to 16 trillion naira by the ex-speaker Dogara's statement. And Goodluck Jonathan talking about recommendations and ways Nigeria can overcome the menace, talking about hardship in Nigeria. We are open for partnership and sponsorship. Please do well to contact us on all of our social media platforms. Do well to contact us on Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram and TikTok at Atlantic TV Network 1, on X, formerly Twitter, at Atlantic TV Net, and watch us live on our website at www.atlanticnetwork.tv. Always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. I am Enidoye Jackson. Thank you once again for being a part of this conversation. It's Atlantic Television Network. Have an amazing day.